thank God that we got to see him get knocked out. I thought that was, really highlighted my fucking year. And, I don't know, man. I think y'all are being a little too nice to DC in defeat, man. And, there's not like Ric Flair said, to be the man, you got to beat the man. Woo!
Woo!
And he never did that. So, it's going back to what I said earlier in the broadcast that he need, like John Jones said, you need to be content with going home and knowing at the end of the day you're better than everybody except John Jones. And John Jones is the man. He should have never been stripped of the title in the first place, if you ask me, due to personal issues outside the ring. The fact that he was never truly convicted of the major offense that he was allegedly, and that's another thing these people need to fucking get the lawyerness in their vocabulary when they're talking about he hit a pregnant woman and then ran from the scene. Well, he allegedly hit the woman and ran from the scene. You know what I'm saying? Nothing is true until it's proven in a court of law. And we just decided, the courts in the octagon last night, the true champion is back on the throne, undisputed, no question about it. DC was definitely keeping that belt warm from him. He should never be able to call himself a champion. And that's just one thought from this West Texas boy out here in Lubbock, Texas.
Jesus, Kevin.
That's fair, very well said. Some more coming in from Facebook. Craig Roberts says, thoughts on Dana saying Bisping versus GSP is happening again because Woodley's fight was shit.
Yeah, you know what? I can't say I'm surprised. And it's interesting because if you look at the pre-fight presser, Tyron Woodley went to say something about Michael Bisping, and Dana White kind of turned to him and he was like, "What'd you say?" And you could tell like there's some friction there. And I don't know that Dana White really has a great relationship with Tyron Woodley. No, I can't tell you that for certain. That's just how it appears on the surface. But he's a Dana White does what Dana White does. And he is in a lot of ways the ultimate fan's boss. Right. And he knows that a lot of people didn't like this fight. They didn't find it exciting. And at the end of the day, he'll go with someone that's going to bang. He will go with someone that's going to trade. He'll go with someone that's going to bring the fight. And he doesn't think Tyron Woodley's that guy. So is he going to hand him a $5 to $10 million payday or whatever the potential prospect might be in a giant pay-per-view and welterweight showdown with George St. Pierre? Or does he match him up against Michael Bisping, a fight that St. Pierre wanted where he feels it's going to be more exciting? At the end of the day, this new ownership group is about entertainment. So I don't know that I agree with it 100%, but I definitely can see why Dana White is doing what he's doing.
I think that Dana White might have something out for Michael Bisping because, I mean, his eye's already messed up and he had half a dozen surgeries on it. Now he wants to put him there with GSP, who's going to work that piston jab and fuck it up even worse. Maybe he doesn't like Michael Bisping. I don't know. I would say he definitely doesn't like Tyron Woodley. I don't think anybody likes Tyron Woodley. And that's nothing to say against the man, but you got to be your own man and do what you do. I think it's typical bullshit, man. It's going back on your word. But, at the same time, he has a job to do as a promoter, and I understand why that he would make that decision. But when just last week you're sitting at a fucking press conference table and you turn over to the champ, Tyron Woodley, and say, no, if you win this fight, you're going to get GSP. And then to backtrack on that minutes after the fight and say, oh, no, we're going to give him to Bisping now. Again, like maybe he doesn't want Bisping to be able to see out his right eye. I don't know. But Bisping's not really the type of guy that I would say brings the fight, man. He works slower. He kind of works off his back foot. He's very technical, but he doesn't do anything spectacularly well. I think, for me personally, I think Tyron Woodley is a lot more interesting matchup because I think Michael Bisping gets whitewashed by GSP when they fight.
I think the new Michael Bisping, or the at least the current version we've seen since the Rockhold fight, has been a lot more exciting. Certainly the Anderson Silva fight, we can look to some of those cases where he's sitting down on his punches. He's added the check left hook. He looks like he wants it a little more now, and he's fighting differently. So I think the excitement value is there more so for Bisping than it was.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Kobe on that, and then disagree with Kevin. No surprise. I actually do think that Dana likes Bisping. The dude has made him a lot of money. People don't talk about that because they're like, oh, he's not a pay-per-view guy. We don't think about him in the States like that, but he is huge in the UK, and that counts for something.
He is the man.
Yeah.
I can speak for that for sure. Bisping, when he headlined Glasgow, Victor, like the inaugural show here in Scotland, we couldn't believe our luck. Like that a guy of that caliber. I mean, we knew we weren't getting a title fight, right? But we thought it's going to be headlined by like Joanne Calderwood or whatever, or like local guys. No disrespect to them. When we heard it was Bisping, who wasn't the champion at that point, but he was still fucking Michael Bisping. It's like, holy shit, man! This is a big deal. Yeah, so I can totally testify for that. He is big news this side of the pond for sure.
Yeah, I think Dana, even if he may not like you personally, he's gonna be cool with you if you're bringing that cash into his bank account. So I don't think he has anything really bad against Bisping. He's a dick, and I'm pretty sure he's a dick to everyone that he speaks with. That's just his character. But I think Bisping long enough, like Dana does, you kind of just get used to that. I have some thoughts on this, and I'm sorry if I take a minute here. I don't know if you guys saw this in the broadcast, but this was one of the greatest things I ever witnessed in my life. I believe it was the fourth round. I was tweeting after the second round. I knew this fight was going nowhere with Maya and Woodley. And I was tweeting. I was looking at my phone for a good 2 minutes. I look up, and I see 18,000 people with their phones, with the lights on their phones. Like it's a sad song at a concert. Okay, you guys saw this.
Yeah,
it was... It was phenomenal. I looked up, I saw these, I started laughing out loud. People were looking at me like I was a crazy person, and everyone around me, boo, this fucking bullshit, this sucks, and they were just yelling. And what I was actually getting kind of frustrated with people yelling all this stuff, because I'm like, well, honestly, what did you expect? Have you never seen these two guys fight?
Exactly.
This is exactly what should have happened. Woodley was going to knock him out in the first round, and then in the second round when he dropped him, that should have been it. Once he didn't capitalize, I'm like, this is it. It's going to 5 rounds, and this is going to keep happening. And people just kept getting mad. And I don't blame them for booing, but they were really upset. Like, they didn't pay for this. Like, of course, this is what was always going to happen. But seeing people put their phones up, people started doing the wave, like the round before that. I heard nothing of the post-fight interview because they were just going about the one thing I did hear was Joe Rogan say this is to set the record for the least strikes thrown.
That's right.
And I myself and everyone around me just started yelling "woo" and clapping and way to go. And this fight was, as I tweeted also, Woodley now has 2 of the possible worst title fights in UFC history consecutively in 1 year. And I saw someone else tweet that he took the title from possibly the most exciting champion ever in Robbie Lawler, and has gone total opposite way. Woodley, I really do respect the guy. I think he's a class act. I think he's very professional. I like his demeanor. As a fighter, I'm not a fan of like that explosive, just one strike a minute style anyway. But when you're not even hitting them knockouts, I really can't say much for you. There's no saving you at that point. You deserve any criticism, and definitely whatever paycheck, your paycheck getting cut, your pay-per-view's not getting in there. That's all due to your work, buddy.
Definitely. Guys, we're just a wee bit short on time, so I'll just take 2 more from Twitter before we wrap up. First one is from Tony, the one and only. Robbie Lawler versus Cowboy Cerrone. How did you score it? Especially Kobe, he mentions.
Yeah, well, I think you could make a case for either guy. I think the interesting thing about the scorecards here is that all 3 judges seen it the same way. 2 rounds for Robbie Lawler, 1 round for Donald Cerrone. Even looking at the numbers, Donald Cerrone 82 of 186 on the significant strikes, 49%. Robbie Lawler 77 of 156 for 49%. Cerrone 1 of 10 on the takedown. Lawler didn't hit a takedown, but he stuffed 9. So I think it really could have went either way. I'll tell you what I liked out of Donald Cerrone, though, scoring aside. I did film study on this, and this was the only fight that I broke down. Cerrone had historically struggled with lefties. He had historically struggled with pressure lefties. He had historically struggled, or I should say maybe not struggled, but the longer layoffs kind of hurt him over 6 months. When I did the math on that, it was he fought in and around 3 and 4 months at a time. So he broke down all of those barriers, and he did another thing really well in this fight, and that was absorb some strikes to the body. I really wouldn't have been objected to seeing Donald Cerrone's hand raised, but at the same time, I could, I'm okay with the decision. This is an interesting stat as well. When it comes to going to the cards, Robbie Lawler is 5-1 in 6 total decisions in the UFC, so I'm not shocked.
I think that Robbie Lawler's aggression, especially how he came out in the first round, I did think he gassed as the fight went on. I scored it for Cerrone. It was a close fight. I thought it was close, but I thought Cerrone won the fight. But, however, I think that the aggression that Lawler, he came out of the gates firing on all cylinders, and the way that he came and just snatched him up by the neck and started working his dirty boxing like a madman at the first round, I think that initial surge stuck out in the judge's mind going forward, and just the pressure that he was putting on him, I think, is what swayed the judges his way. It was a close fight. I think Cerrone should have got the nod, but Cerrone doesn't succeed in these big fights, man. And I thought that he should have. Well, I thought that he should have won. I wasn't surprised. This is why the age-old saying is you don't leave it in the judge's hands. Yeah. And props for Robbie Lawler for doing what he had to do and making an impression and getting the win.
Yeah, I'm glad both you guys can agree that it was a close fight. It seemed like no one in the arena thought it was close. That it was a clear-cut decision for Cerrone, which I thought was insane. It was definitely close, and for sure, Robbie won the first round, Cowboy won the second round. Depending on who you gave the third is who you gave that fight. Initially, I thought Cerrone won. As soon as the fight was over, they're probably going to give it to Cerrone. I wasn't too surprised that Robbie won. As they just mentioned, judges tend to like him. He's just one of those guys. He has that Diego Sanchez, Leonard Garcia thing about him. He's going to get decisions most of the time. Yeah, so I wasn't surprised they gave it to him, and I wasn't outraged. I did think Cowboy deserved to win. I'd love to rewatch it to actually go through, especially the last round. But seeing it live, it did seem like Cowboy did win, and I hope people can on rewatch can see what a close fight it was, and that it wasn't this robbery. Cowboy maybe should have won, but it was no robbery. This was not Diego Sanchez, Ross Pearson. There was nothing at that level. Yeah,
my man Victor with the shout out to Leonard Garcia from Plainview, Texas, about 45 minutes from where I'm sitting right now, man.
Leonard's the man. Leonard's the man. That dude's amazing. I don't care what anybody says.
Sorry to ruin everybody's bubble, but anytime I think of Leonard Garcia, I always think of the Korean Zombie. The second fight, I guess. It would
Twister.
Yeah, Twister, man. Yeah, that was nasty. Hey, guys, I'm really short on time, so just give me a name for this answer. It's from Els for Elf. She's tweeted to say, John Jones, Brock Lesnar. Who you got?
Winner Jones.
Winner Jones.
Jones, no doubt. That's not even a fight.
The
Jones
fuck?
will
3-0, baby. That's what's up.
A
Jones
full
will finish him in
house.
2 rounds.
That prediction for rounds as well. Fair play, mate. Full house for Johnny Bon Jones. Well, there you go, guys. Another week wrapped up here in the round table. I want to extend my thanks to Kevin Jones of The Main Event. Kev, thank you very much for your time, sir.
Thank you. I'm taking this Bloody Mary, and I'm going to go pursue the noble Scottish-originated sport of golf that John Boy is such a big fan of.
So fuck all that shit, man. Now with your stupid socks, away you go. Thank you to Kobe's Corner. Always a pleasure to get your time, mate.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure chopping it up with you guys. UFC 214 in the books. Couldn't have wanted it any other way today other than be here right here with you guys. So thank you for having me.
Sneaking into the back there is my man with the plan, Victor Vargas, MMA Wreckage. Victor, thank you very much for your time, mate.
No problem. Anytime. Glad I could jump on last minute.
Finally, if you want to get in touch, we're on Facebook, facebook.com/Martial Arts Chat. You can also reach me at Martial Arts Chat. We'll be back later in August, getting all the build up to Mayweather versus McGregor. Oh, it's going to be great. But in the meantime, if you've liked this podcast, give us a rating on Spreaker, subscribe on iTunes, or follow us, like I said, on Twitter, or like us on Facebook. You can do that on all those platforms by searching for Martial Arts Chat. I'm John Boy McElroy, and I'll catch you next time on the Martial Arts Chat podcast.